Helio Castroneves, car number 3.
Sam Hornish Jr., car number 6.
Tony Kanaan, car number 11.
Dario Franchitti, car number 27.
Darren Manning, car number 10.
Adrian Fernandez, car number 5.
Brian Herda, number 7.
Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Vitor Almeida, car number 17.
Buddy Rice, car number 15.
Thomas Schechter, car number 4.
Scott Dixon, car number 1.
Townsend Bell, car number 2.
Alex Barron, car number 51.
Mark Taylor, car number 13.
Jacques Lazier, car 20.
AJ Foyt, car number 14.
Kosuke Matsuda, car number 55.
Philippe Giafoni, car number 24.
Brad Akagi, car number 12.
Scott Sharp, car number 8.
Ed Carpenter, car number 52.
Ed Carpenter starts dead last. He had a crash before qualifying yesterday. Did not take a time in qualifying. You should take a look at the front row once again. All Penske. Castroneves on the pole. Teammate Sam Hornish outside. Castroneves, I'm sure if you were honest with you would say I'd rather be road racing. And Hornish would say, I love this racetrack.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. As Roger Penske said, if these guys don't do something stupid, it should be an interesting first lap. This distance of this race, 362 kilometers. Pole sitters Castroneves, 20.1 seconds. That's a very quick lap. And Castroneves won this race here last year. Pits are going to be between 70, 74 laps. They get about 2.5 miles per gallon. It's 28 degrees centigrade, very humid, 63 degrees. Winds are not going to be a factor. There is a slight chance of rain, but not much.
And probably there's a look back from Scott Dixon's car starting back in 12th position. Probably nobody has more test laps on this track than the car of Castroneves. And there is Townsend Bell. There's a look from Thomas Schechter, who starts back in the 11th position.
Interesting to see. Schechter was the fastest driver in the last practice session.
Darren Manning looking back off of his car, and there's Tony Kanaan as he tucks in behind Castroneves. As you look at the safety vehicle, the pace vehicle up there with Johnny Rutherford, and there's Dario Franchitti starting outside his teammate in row 2. And we should have the green flag there the next time by. Last week we saw an excellent start, probably the best start we've seen all season.
Yeah, this the straightaway, the front straightaway is so short. Getting down into turn one, it's a very tight left-hander. It's flat, and you're looking. I think
this won't be a very
Hornish
good start.
has already decided he's just going to fall into second follow. He doesn't want to cause any kind of crash, but because it's so difficult.
Kanaan goes on by his teammate for third.
Everybody fell into single file there very quickly because everybody knew how difficult it was to stay on that outside groove through turn 1.
So Castroneves takes the lead off the pole position. A very tight racetrack, difficult to pass on. That is why there's a premium on qualifying. It's important to start up in front.
Yeah, see that we just came through turn 3. They call it turn 3. There's actually 2 different corners there. Oh, look at this. Dixon just went by Schechter on the outside, and that's a very difficult corner to do that in. Schechter now goes to the outside, coming off of turn number 2. Oh man!
And this is just a display of one-upmanship right there. There's no need to be that gutsy this early in the race.
Oh man, I guess not. As he just absolutely, I'm not sure what he did to let Dixon go by him on the outside down there in turn 1.
But he said, I'm taking that position back from you.
Yep.
Now, there's a look at Schechter. We've noticed throughout the season that the 2 guys that will ride the highest in the racetrack will be Schechter and Hornish.
Yeah, both of those guys like that higher groove. On this particular racetrack, there's really not much of a place to go high. As we ride along with Schechter, you have to be on the bottom here in turn number 1. This is a very short straightaway. You can get a little bit high here coming off the corner. You can see right there, they had to get out of the throttle coming through there. That's almost 2 corners there, as you can tell. This is turn 3 and 4. This is almost 2 corners right there. As you see, that was a little bitty short straightaway. They call that turn 3, but it's really just, it's 2 corners.
Well, Schechter has moved up to 6th position. So
that's
started back at 11, so he's picked up 5 positions. I want to go back and look at a replay of the start of the race with Schechter moving up those positions. And look at this.
Okay, this is turn 1. Now we're going into turn number 2, and he just goes to the outside of Rice. 1, 2, 3. Wow! Everybody slowed up as they're trying to get back in line, and he just blew by him. That was an unbelievable move.
And how about let's go on by Dan Weldon? There's another, picked up 4 positions right there.
Everybody else trying to get their tires warmed up, and he's just going by him on the outside. That was an unbelievable move he made.
Well, it's about time for Lady Luck to smile on him, because he's not had, that entire team has had no real luck this season. And Larry, you know that we've heard guys say you kind of make your own luck, but sometimes you'll also hear drivers say, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Well,
and they've not had any measure of luck whatsoever.
I would say out of all the races that Thomas Scheckter has fallen out of, maybe one could be his fault, but most of them, yeah, his own doing. But the majority of them had nothing to do with Thomas Scheckter. They've just been things that have happened. You know, just like last week, breaking a half shaft, you can't blame that on the driver, really.
Well, Castro Neves had led from the pole position. He's working on lap 8 now, enjoying almost a second lead over his teammate Sam Hornish. Kanaan is third, then Franchitti and Fernandez. Scheckter has moved to 6th after starting 11th. Weldon has dropped to 7th. Manning is 8th. Herta is 9th, and Mira now is 10th. So we have the Andretti Green team occupying 4 of the top 9 positions.
Yeah, and Manning had his very best start ever as he started up near the front, and he's fallen back to 8th, so not having a good run after a terrific qualifying.
And they're closing in on Eddie Carpenter, who crashed yesterday in practice, did not qualify, so he took the last starting position. And right now, Castro Neves closing in on the back of the field. And this track is so small, Larry, it's kind of like Richmond. The traffic is going to be a problem throughout the competition.
It's going to be a huge, huge problem. Traffic is going to be a major factor. The pit stops and traffic. Look at this. Look how quickly Hornish caught him when he got behind. And you can see if Castro Neves stays behind him and doesn't get around him, Hornish is going to make a move on him right there.
Anyway.
Oh, and
then Eddie came down across the nose of Castro Neves.
And this is going to give the whole field a chance to catch up with them. As you can see, Castro Neves stayed clear to the inside as he knows that these guys can get around him here in traffic. Hornish is going to try to go to the outside. If Castro Neves doesn't do something, Hornish will blow by both of them on the outside. Now he's going to get to the inside.
Well, the spotter probably told him to get out of the way, or maybe the IRL said get out of the way.
Yeah, and you can see that Eddie Carpenter just got on the brakes and went to the outside. But Eddie Carpenter's had a terrible time here all week long. He's not run fast any time during the week. He's been the slowest guy during every practice session, and then he crashed. So he's not having much fun out there today.
Well, you saw the effect of traffic because there was a second lead between first and second. That evaporated in a hurry when Castro Neves got tucked up behind Eddie Carpenter. And now you ride along with Kanaan. You watch Kanaan shift gears.
Flat out through turn number 1. A little bit of a lift here. This is where they lift the most, here in turn number 2, because you lift and stay about half throttle all the way through there. Then you just lift slightly going into turn 3, and you're flat out just about everywhere else.
There's the gap between first and second with Castro Neves out in front of Hornish. You ride with Kanaan. Fernandez has now moved up to 4th position. Franchitti has dropped to 5th. Scheckter is still 6th. Weldon is 7th. And it's Manning, Herta, and Mira as they work lap 15 of the scheduled 225. Well, this is the kind of racetrack that Sam Hornish likes. He's probably the best in this field in traffic. We've talked about that a number of times, but this is kind of a track, the track at Milwaukee, the mile there, the short track at Richmond plays well for the guys that like to run and do well in traffic.
Yeah, and he later on, when we get into traffic, you'll see him making some moves probably. I think he thought it was a little early there with Carpenter, and he just kind of stayed behind his teammate. But as time goes on, he'll get a little braver, and he'll do some things that, you know, some of these other guys won't do.
Still a big question mark on the future of this facility. As we said, it will be closed after today's race. The stands are going to be moved off to Watkins Glen. We'll see those next year. You take a look at Scheckter and Weldon. That is 6th and 7th position as they go by Carpenter, but still a lot of questions on exactly what they might use the facility for. There has been some rumor that it will be torn down for other development. There's been some talk that they're going to bring in the state police and do police training here. It could be a corporate entertainment center where corporations bring people in and somebody would have some type of cars for them to drive. But a lot of questions, but very few answers.
Yeah, very few answers right now. I don't think it'll be torn down right away. If it had been sold already to a real estate corporation to build something here, we would know about that. So obviously, it'll probably be up for sale. As soon as the property gets worth enough money, they'll sell it to a developer for some sort of future real estate development.
There's the gap between Scheckter in 6th, Weldon in 7th. Now remember, we showed you that start when Scheckter started 11th and quickly moved up to 6th position. Franchitti, there's Darren Manning. Manning now in the 8th position. Castroneves continues to lead now by 7/10 of a second over Hornish. As you look back at Manning from the back, or back to Weldon from the back of Schechter's car. The 100th event in the Indy Racing League history. Castroneves leading. He won this race a year ago here at Nazareth, so he's leading his teammate with Kanaan third. And we talk about the premium on qualifying. We saw a great move at the start by Scheckter, but he's kind of stuck there in 6th position.
Yeah, the first 5 cars all fell into line, and nothing has changed in those first 5 cars, I don't think.
There's Adrian Fernandez, who now rides in the 4th position after starting in 6th. He already has 1 win this season.
I take that back. Fernandez has gotten around Franchitti. That is a position change from the first lap, how they went into the first turn number 1.
Well, he was 2nd a week ago. 2 weeks ago, he won at Kentucky. So he has a win this season in 2nd. And really, he got a late start. Never had a chance to develop in the off-season, to test in the off-season. And this was a new car for him to adapt to. And even the most experienced race drivers would take a little time to adapt to a race car. He had no testing. It was like, okay, let's go racing. Here it is.
Yeah, and as he surged forward in the last 2 or 3 races, Matsura in the last 2 races especially has kind of fallen off. And there's John Barnes, who runs Panther Racing, who's talking to Thomas Scheckter, and one of the owners of Panther Racing, I should say. A little speculation.
The managing partner.
Yeah, the managing partner. And of course, they would love to see Thomas Scheckter and the Chevrolet do really, really well here. And you can see Thomas has kind of lost contact with the first 5 guys, so he's fallen back. I think Weldon's a little quicker than he is. He's like 5 seconds behind 5th place.
And with all this has been happening with this team, oh boy.
It looked like Hornish got in there.
Had a nose in there.
Hard on the brakes, and that was in traffic as they were held up by A.J. Foyt. And Hornish tried to stick his nose in under there, and it looked like it was could have crashed both of them if he hadn't got on the brakes hard enough to miss that.
Giaffoni's out from him right now. Giaffoni and then Matsura.
And this is going to be a problem all race long. As we take a look here, as they came in there,
look at that. Foyt finally got out of the throttle.
Yeah, Hornish went by on the inside, Castroneves on the outside, and Castroneves just wasn't going to give him that position, so he had to get hard on the brakes and let Castroneves go. Let's see what happens this time.
Well, that's Barron headed for the pit area in the 51 car.
Yeah,
they still have Giaffoni out in front of them. Unscheduled pit stop here on lap 29. Well, that's Eddie Carpenter.
Yeah, Eddie Carpenter. I think he's figuring out, I'm just going so slow, I'm going to make some changes. If I can't go faster than this, I'm going to get the heck out of the way.
Get off sequence. He's already lost a lap. You talk about A.J. Foyt. There's been a lot of talk about where young A.J. could go next year. There has been some interest from some other race teams to pick him up.
Yeah.
And, he's in a very delicate situation there because Grandpa brought him along. Had it not been for A.J., young A.J. would never have been in IndyCars.
Yeah, it'd be tough for him to switch teams right now, I believe, as long as Grandpa wants to own cars and as long as A.J. wants to stay in business.
But for him to flourish, he may have to go to another team. That's the catch-22 for young A.J.
Yes, it is. And right now, these guys have caught Giaffoni. Castroneves really hasn't been close enough to make a move on him, as now Franchitti is pulling back up on the back of Fernandez. As the tires get older and more worn, it looks like Fernandez has slowed down and Franchitti has sped up just a little bit.
They're about halfway through this run on these tires.
And see, here's the difference. When they first started this series, the first few laps they run 155 miles an hour. Now then they're down to 150. So some of them have slowed way up. Some of them haven't slowed up quite as much. Franchitti, his fastest lap is 153. He's still running 148. So he hasn't slowed up as much as some of the other guys.
You see them all stacked up there down the back straightaway. There's a look at Mark Taylor in the Access Motorsports number 13. Taylor right now back in 15th position.
Like he does have a new sponsor on that car that I haven't seen before. Still running in 15th, and of course he ran for Panther at the beginning of the year and was fired after crashing, I think, the first 4 or 5 races in a row. But since he's been in this race car, he hasn't crashed. He's done a fairly good job. He just hasn't been as quick as he was in the other car.
We talk about this track offering a premium on qualifying, but man, this is a premium on chassis setup too. That car has to be working here.
And that last shot, you can see the elevation change. You go up and down like a road course. It's up and then down into the next corner. It's downhill into turn number 3.
Castroneves continues to lead this thing. He has led all 33 laps now.
Giaffone's running some pretty quick laps. He's still running. He's running almost as well. He's almost as fast as the leaders. Now then they come down into turn number 1 there, and you can see them uphill and then downhill into turn number 1.
This is the 7th race that Castroneves has led this season. Coming in, he led 156 laps. Right now, I think Cornish may just be content to ride back there in 2nd position and wait for an opportunity in traffic to stick his nose by. As you ride along with Franchitti, back there in the 5th position.
Well, those guys have all they've closed up quite a bit on our leader. He pulled out a pretty good lead, but once he got in traffic, everybody's closed up just a little bit.
Here's Manning on the rear of Schechter. Weldon has gotten around Schechter for 6th position. Schechter drops to 7th now to that great start. And Manning now has him in his sights.
Yeah, Schechter's not running as quick on the racetrack as maybe we thought he would. He was the fastest car in the last practice session. And after that terrific start, we thought he might move forward, but he's slowed down. He's struggling right now.
24 car now, that would be Giaffone, is getting a warning from race control that he is holding up the leaders. So we talked about how well he was running with the leaders right behind him, but race control feels like he's holding them up and has rated. See, race control actually has contact with all these drivers,
right?
And so they can just key their headset in their helmet and tell them to get the heck out of the way.
Well, Buddy Rice trying to make a move on Herta for 10th spot. Right behind them is Townsend Bell. All 3 of those guys running very close. Yeah, Giaffone's doing nothing wrong, and those guys really haven't challenged him a great deal. The problem is when you get right up behind a guy and he's running fairly close to the same speed you are, you just can't get a run on him to get around him. That's what makes it so difficult here at this racetrack. Let's see, is a pass right here.
Nope, didn't have momentum.
Couldn't get off of the corner.
Maybe a pass. Bell may be going by Rice.
Rice got under Herta, but then coming off the corner, he didn't have the traction to go on by him. And you can see how difficult it is. Rice qualified in 10th, running in 11th, has not made a great deal of headway on this short track. You can see he's a little bit quicker down that back straightaway and always gets a run on Herta. He just can't find a way to get around him.
You watch the right hand off the steering wheel to shift gears, still up in front, Castroneves. That few car length advantage now over his teammate, and they're still stacked up behind Giaffone, and right behind Giaffone is Jacques Lazier in the number 20 Patrick entry, and then right in front of Lazier is Taylor. So there's going to be traffic to contend with as they work on lap 42 of 225, and Castroneves continues to lead. The Penske drivers are...
Now then, Franchitti looks like he might try to go to the outside of Fernandez. Thinks better of it.
There's just not a lot of room here.
No,
short straightaways and narrow corners.
The back straightaway is the longest straightaway on the racetrack, and it's not all that long. This is turn 3 and 4, which is well, they call it turn 3, but it's really 2 corners. And right there, that's where the crash happened last year with Kanaan. He got out of the throttle, somebody ran right in the back of him. It looked like Franchitti might do that time as Fernandez had to get out of the throttle for that lap car.
And you saw that there was a short straightaway there. They call that one sweeping turn, but it's actually 2 corners and a short straightaway. So if you ask one driver, he'll tell you this is 4 turns. One driver will tell you it's a 5-turn racetrack. Somebody might say, no, it's only 3 turns.
Yeah, different people have different opinions. They call it a 3-cornered racetrack, but a lot of the drivers will tell you it's actually got 5 different corners in it. Turn 3 is definitely 2 different corners put together.
Well, we may have an engine problem in car number 4, Larry. We talked about Schechter going from 11th in the starting grid to 6th, and now he's dropped to 14th position. So again, bad luck plaguing this Pennzoil Panther team and Thomas Schechter. After that fire as he left the pits a couple of races ago, John Barnes just said, "Hey, you want to drive for this team?" And he said, "Yes, I do." But I tell you what, it's very difficult for a driver, owner, mechanics to keep the focus when every week something bad happens.
Yeah, it's really been frustrating for all of them. There goes Castroneves around toward Takagi. As Takagi got out of the throttle and kind of moved over and let him go. And that's enabled Castroneves, that lap traffic has enabled him to move out into a little bit of a lead over
a 1.6-second lead as he puts a couple lap cars between his position and that of Sam Hornish. Takagi now is 2 laps off the pace. Carpenter's 4. Right now we have Schechter is the last driver on the lead lap, and he is in 14th position.
And you can see that once he got around Takagi, he's got an open track, and he's just stretching the lead. All of a sudden, he's 3 seconds ahead just because he's out there in a wide open space. You can see there is a bump down there in turn 3. You can see Castroneves, he hit that bump just a second ago. So, yeah, look at that. Wide open spaces in front of him while Hornish is back there still trying to get through. And here comes Schechter into the pit area. So obviously, there's some sort of a problem. They're not near the area they should be for pit stops yet. They've got another 20 or 25 laps to go.
With him in the pits, that will leave the top 13 positions on the lead lap. 13th now is Alex Barron. And, well, just fuel and go.
Yep.
Just the wing, but we had heard there might be some engine problems.
Well, there must have been such a huge wing difference, or handling must have been so bad handling that they had to come in and make early pit stops. The only thing I can figure, because they didn't look like they didn't look at the engine anywhere.
Well, that lead now is up to 5 seconds, over 5 seconds between first and second, all because of traffic and where they hit the traffic and how they got through traffic. There goes Kanaan by Schechter as he goes up through the gears, trying to come up out to full song. There's a look at Castroneves now on lap 57. He's led all 56 laps so far, and his lead now approaching 6 seconds.
Yeah, and you can see that Hornish has pulled out into a little bit of a lead over Kanaan. After they got into some open spaces, he got through the traffic quicker than Kanaan did. These guys back here all coming up on Thomas Schechter now. This ought to be interesting as Frank Keaty and Weldon, Mira, all these guys coming up on
Schechter slammed the door on Frank Keaty.
You can see he's not running very well. Either that thing is handling so badly that he's not getting down the straightaways, or then the engine is just not performing because
stays up high and lets Weldon go on by.
And that would be appreciated by the other drivers.
And Mira goes on by as well, so Schechter getting out of the way, letting the faster cars go on. Schechter right now is 2 laps off the pace.
And he's definitely struggling.
And the first yellow of the afternoon as Mark Taylor, you just talked about how he was doing with his car without crashing.
Yeah, we talked about that, and the next thing that happens is he runs her into the fence. Wow.
Well, 13 apparently made contact with the 2 car of Townsend Bell, and that put the number 13 of Mark Taylor in the fence. So the yellow comes out on lap 59. There's a look from the back of the 2 car.
Matt Sura's in the pits, so you know, all of a sudden we've got 4 drivers really, with counting Thomas Schechter, who have had problems right here. Let's see if there's any damage to that car. We can't see any from this angle. I'm only guessing.
And while we're under our first caution period of the 225 laps that we will be covering today. And of course that caution period was because of the rookie Mark Taylor and Townsend Bell, who had a little bit of a touching on one of the turns. We'll take a look at that in a moment once we get through these pit stops. And everybody diving down. It was about the right window of opportunity. They've got to get to that line, so they're in formation first of all. So then the pit stop's just about all underway while the debris is being cleared from the the British driver that ended up in the wall. We can take a look at it now. We're on board with Townsend Bell, and you can see he's made the pass, but Mark Taylor was just coming down the track for the racing line. And Johnny Molan, if I can come to you first on that one. bit unfortunate for Mark, but you've got to say Townsend Bell it was more unfortunate for, because he was well past, wasn't he?
He was, and also it's going to be a bit worrying for him now because it took enough of a knock sideways, laterally like that. You don't really want to be going around that kind of track with a possible suspension failure waiting to happen.
With our commentators.
Starts on this particular racetrack are important, but they aren't nearly as important as they are some places. Because here, if you mess up a little bit, you can get by with it and still kind of hold people off down into turn 1. But you don't want to miss a shift or you're in big trouble, that's for sure.
All right, as they pick up the RPMs off the corner, Castro-Neves, Kanaan, and Hornish, then Weldon, Fernandez, and Franchitti.
Well, we'll know right away if anybody made any huge changes. Mistakes or handling changes. We saw that none of the Penske cars really changed anything. They just went in, didn't change the wings, didn't do anything like that. So that indication they're doing pretty well. Look at this.
Well, with Takagi's a couple laps off the pace, though. They're saying now that Penske wants to get the cars in and out so fast on the green that unless that car is so bad and you complain so much, they don't want to take the time to change the front wing because it takes up that much more time on the pit stop.
Right. Pit stops are so important. They play such an important part that nobody wants to look at this. Takagi's in both Schechter's and Townsend Bell's way now. Tor Takagi's probably having, if Scott Sharp isn't having the worst year of anybody, then it has to be Tor Takagi. Everybody thought he would be very, very good this year, be competitive. He has not been competitive in one single race. He's been very, very slow in every event this year.
Schechter, as you take a look again at, is there contact there? Well, he drove him off over the rumble strips.
Townsend Bell was down in the rumble strips on the brake. Townsend Bell did a terrific job there not to run into Eddie Carpenter. He could have very easily put Eddie Carpenter right in the fence right there.
Townsend Bell is on the back of the lead lap. He's tucked in behind Schechter. Schechter is a lap off the pace. Schechter right now is right behind Lazier. Lazier is also a lap off the pace. So right now, this is a battle for 14th position between Lazier in the red car, Schechter the yellow car. They're a lap back. And this is Townsend Bell, who's on the lead lap, back in 13th position.
He's just trying to work his way back up through there.
And there's Rice and Herta battling for 9th position.
Yeah, Rice still struggling back there in that 10th position. He went back to 11th, gained 1 spot, but still not having the kind of day that he had hoped, I'm sure.
That's Manning right in front of them in 8th position.
Yeah, Darren Manning also not having the kind of day he had hoped. He had a very good qualifying run. Started up in 5th position. Had talked about hoping to better his 4th place finish, and still might, but he struggled a little bit since the start of the race and fallen back.
Elio out in front has led all 77 laps. And there's a look at Fernandez, who is back there in 5th position. So right now it's Castro-Neves, Kanaan, Hornish, Weldon, Fernandez, and Franchitti.
Yeah, Fernandez again having a pretty good run in 5th place, and he not really passing many cars. That's just about, he's run 4th and 5th almost all race long, but he is in a position if something happens, or if he gets in the pits, has a great pit stop, that he could be right up front contending for the lead. That's all you can hope for.
So working on lap 79, this is a 225 lap event. And things can happen in a hurry on this racetrack, so you really put yourself into position. Try to keep your nose clean and put yourself into position the last 50 or 80 laps of the race.
And what can happen is when you get into lap traffic, if one of the leaders, one of the top 2 or 3 leaders has trouble in lap traffic, a guy can go from 4th to 2nd in just no time because everybody gets tagged up behind the guy in 2nd or the lap car. So the lap traffic is the big factor. As long as they're on an open racetrack, it's going to be almost impossible for Weldon, who we're looking at right now, they're in 4th, to get around Sam Hornish. But in lap traffic, he makes the right move, Hornish makes the wrong move. It could be the difference.
The winner at Motegi and Richmond, the shortest racetrack on the schedule. Weldon back there in the 4th position. So you have Penske teammates running 1st and 3rd. You have Andretti Green teammates running 2nd and 4th and 6th. And then stick Fernandez in there on good measure, and he's back there in 5th position.
Well, right now, Weldon's just waiting for an opportunity to try to make some sort of a move on Hornish. Hornish not giving him that opportunity at this point. As the first 4 cars, there you see them, 1, 2, 3, 4, all on the same straightaway still.
But they're coming up on Matsura, who's already a lap off the pace. So let's see if they in fact jam up behind him. 0.6 of a second the lead right now between Castroneves and Hornish. And there's Herta. And Herta has Rice right behind him. That is 9th and 10th on the racetrack.
And Herta has had a pretty good season. He hasn't had the signature type of season that the other Andretti Green teams have had. Look at this. Rice is going to make a move. Oh, he gets down on the rumble strips, hard on the brakes. And Herta didn't give him enough room on the bottom. He really wasn't up far enough. Herta didn't have to give him room, but that gets pretty dicey because those rumble strips can sometimes move the car over just enough to put you into the guy beside you.
Well, and also Rice has to be in a position. Look at that traffic. Yeah, look at the traffic. But Rice has to see the championship chances kind of just dwindle away right now as he's mired back there in 10th position.
Herta moves down to the inside there.
That's Manning that you're riding along with, looking back at Herta and Rice.
And as they were going around, I think that was Matsura, and there was just everybody going everywhere trying to make something happen, and fortunately they all got through there and nothing bad happened, but it could have very easily.
And through all this, Kanaan, make that Castroneves has opened up his lead slightly over Kanaan. Hornish is still 3rd, then Weldon and Fernandez.
That's Barron and Dixon right behind him in 11th.
Well, watch this.
Look at this. Ooh.
At least Matsura stayed on the high side, let him go on by.
Look at this, man. Mira tried to make the pass down there, just couldn't quite pull it off.
You look back from the 2nd place car back to 3rd place Hornish as they work on lap 88 of the scheduled 225. So it's Castroneves and Kanaan, and then Hornish, Weldon, and Fernandez. Riding on the top 5, 87 of 225 laps now complete. Well, we talked early on, Larry, about the traffic and what role both traffic and pit activity would have over the overall outcome of this event.
Yeah, we're not halfway yet. Mira missed a great chance to get around Franchitti as he got to the inside of Franchitti as they all got bunched up back there. He ran side by side with Franchitti through turn 1. Oh, look at this. Herta tries to go to the outside. Oh, and Rice thought about sticking his nose down under him and thought better of it. But as they're following Eddie Carpenter around there, everybody's kind of balled up once again. Manning now.
Carpenter now squeezes by on the inside of Carpenter, who is now 5 laps off the pace. Here comes Herta.
Wow. Yeah, Carpenter just moved over and let him go that time. Now Buddy Rice has got to get around Carpenter, though, if he doesn't want to lose contact with these guys.
Well, that's the problem. Depending on where that guy in front of you gets a shot at going by that lap car, if you don't have that same opportunity, you could lose contact.
Exactly. You could lose a lot of ground on the racetrack just by being held up by that lap car.
Well, Manning now in the 8th position. Herta is back in 9th. Rice is in 10th. And Rice lost over a second because of that little altercation trying to get by Carpenter. Lost a second on the guy that he was chasing. Working on lap 93 of the 100th race for the Indy Racing League here at the final event ever for Nazareth Speedway that opened back in 1996 as a dirt track, a 1.1 mile oddly shaped dirt track.
Right.
That was eventually closed for about 10 years before being purchased by Roger Penske and paved and reconfigured.
So try to go down and talk to Mark Taylor about his accident here in a couple of minutes if we can catch up with him. But meanwhile, Castroneves still leading this race, has led every lap, and so far looks like he doesn't want to relinquish that lead.
Well, his lead now is consistent at about 0.7 of a second, although you can see the margin right there It's more visual to see that gap between first and second. Now you look back from second place to third place, see how close they are.
Yeah, it looks like Hornish actually might be a little faster than Kanaan, but on this particular racetrack, it's hard to move out to the outside. There's no real outside groove here like there is on the majority of the racetracks. And every time Hornish gets off that line, off that preferred line, he loses a lot. Now then he gets a good little run off of turn number 2, but it wasn't good enough.
Well, the tracks that we will go to in the next 3 outings will have a couple of real good racing grooves.
Yeah,
we'll see a lot of side-by-side racing in the next 3 outings.
Yeah, it'd be a lot different type of atmosphere than this racetrack.
Still want to hear from Mark Taylor if we can, who crashed out of this event and is listed in 22nd position, the only driver out of the race.
It was a tough situation. We got backed up into the leaders by the 52, and we were struggling with the car. The tyres were going off, but you're trying to let the leaders go past as easy as possible, and it's just one of those situations that I felt that Townsend dived down the inside of me and didn't give me any room, nowhere to go. It was either going into the wall or giving him a hit and going into the wall. So I tried to give him as much room as I could. We ended up, I think my front wheel hit his side pod and just ended up going to the wall. It's one of those situations. It was a shame because the car felt pretty good at the beginning. It was just we needed to come in for a pit stop.
That was the bad news. The good news is potentially a new sponsor for Greg Ray and the team.
Absolutely, it's looking good for access from. We're looking for a 2-car team from Texas onwards, and of course, hopefully for next year we've got some great sponsorship deals coming up. Hopefully.
Wish you the best of luck. We're glad you're okay.
Thanks.
Well, you heard it from a driver that could be a team driver now. Does that mean Greg Ray's going to be back in the cockpit?
I'm sure it will be. If there's a team driver, I'm sure Greg Ray will be the other driver. So that would be very good. And look at this.
Hornish has gotten around during that interview. Hornish got around Kanaan, and now he pulls up on his teammate in heavy traffic.
Well, we've talked a couple of times about how very good he is in traffic, and it looks like he's trying to take advantage of the traffic again. That
by Scott Sharp.
Castroneves goes by on the outside. Goes by Scott Sharp on the outside. So we'll see if Hornish can take advantage of all this lap traffic in front of both he and Castroneves.
Talk about a difference in fate. Here's your leader winner of this race 2 years ago, and Sharp is actually 2 laps off the pace. Last year's winner is leading this event.
Yeah, look at this. Castroneves.
Almost 3 wide. Now finally Hornish goes by and closes right back down on this.
Oh, look at this.
Look at this.
Hornish.
And he squeezes by.
He squeezed by his own teammate. And then he loses another spot as Kanaan followed him through. And that's all because he had to get out of the throttle because of Matsura. And when he did, Hornish had a momentum. He had a big run on him and just blew on by him. And that's how quickly things can change. First to third in 1 straightaway.
Also, Hornish becomes only the 2nd leader of the day.
Matsura is almost a moving chicane out there today, as he's really just in the way a lot.
Castroneves led the first 101 laps as we approach the halfway point, and he does pick up that bonus from Firestone for leading lap 100. So $10,000 bonus for leading lap 100.
Well, let's go back and take a look at exactly how all this took place when Castroneves goes from first to third after leading the whole race. There you see second, third, the rest of the guys coming through here.
We didn't see it there.
Now this is not the replay. This is the replay.
You're riding along with Kanaan.
Okay, here we go.
High side, he ducks right across. Oh, I tell you what, his teammate had to give him room.
Yeah. He had to give him room or crash because Hornish just got a big run on the outside. And when he did, this is the pass. This is when Hornish got into 2nd place. He just outbraked Kanaan.
This is for the lead.
Right there is where Castroneves had to get out of the throttle because Matsura squeezed him. And when he got out of the throttle, he just lost so much momentum. Those other 2 cars had been far enough behind him that they had enough momentum just to keep their speed up, and they blew by him before he could get going again.
Well, I tell you what, that little move by Hornish almost took out both Penske cars because he came across the nose of the number 3 car, and Castroneves gave him room. And here comes Elio getting on the outside of Kanaan as Kanaan's jammed up in traffic behind Felipe Giafone.
Wow, he goes by on the outside over there in turn number 2. A great move. Now that he gets...
he goes by on the inside.
He got caught. Giafone slowed up in front of him, and now he lost another spot. He got by.
Weldon goes by. And look at that, Franchitti goes by.
Oh, Castroneves
lost 3 spots because of traffic.
He is going to be livid. Giafone, he got by him on the outside, and as soon as he got by Kanaan, Giafone moved right up the racetrack right in front of him and stuck him by, and all those cars got around him. What a terrible break for Helio Castroneves, as he had no control over that. As
those 2 Brazilians may have a conversation when this race is over.
He is not going to be happy. He's not going to be happy because, you know, Giafone had been running the same line. He thought he had them run on him on the outside, and as soon as he went out there, Giafone moved up and was going nowhere, and he lost 3 positions.
Okay, let's stack it up in this way. Hornish is your leader. Kanaan rides second, then Weldon, then Franchitti, then Castroneves. And so we've got the Penske car out in front, and then 3 Andretti Green teammates running second, third, and fourth. Castroneves is now 5th. Fernandez is 6th. As we race on lap 111 as we approach the halfway point.
Wow.
48 laps since that last pit stop for your leader. And they will go to lap 70 or
Fernandez,
so.
I thought he got around Castroneves. It looked like as that rear view shot. I couldn't tell who it was that got around him, but he did get around him going through turns 3 and 4. As Castroneves, once he got out of the lead, has just dropped back dramatically here in the last few laps. The first 3 positions he lost were because of traffic. I'm not sure what happened with Fernandez. It could have been traffic again, as Fernandez went around him down there in turns 3 and 4.
Now he has Mira to contend with, because Mira starts to close in and behind Castroneves, who is 6th. Mira is 7th. And back up in front, Hornish enjoying about a 4-second lead over Kanaan. So with all that traffic, Kanaan, or that Hornish lead, has expanded to over 4 seconds.
Yeah, but look at all the traffic he has now. Before it lets him get by, Takagi is going to be the next obstacle in front of Hornish. And those 2 guys have not been a lot of a problem. Most of the time they've gotten out of the way. Their spotters have told them when the leaders are coming. And
Michael. There's the back of the head of Roger Penske. So we're on lap 115. So Sam Hornish has led the last 14 circuits over Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon. Let's call it a day.
Yeah, we haven't crashed this thing yet. We might as well leave.
We've had every opportunity to crash it and take somebody else out too. So let's just park it.
Exactly. I think that's probably a smart move, because they've not been fast, and he's been kind of in the way, to be quite honest. He's not been a very
not characteristic of what we have seen from him during most of this season. Last couple of races he's not been competitive.
That's right. He's had a great year. This is one of this race and the Pikes Peak are the only 2 races I can remember that he's really been not very fast. I mean, remember at Indianapolis, he was quick right from the get-go. He's amongst leaders every day at the Indianapolis 500. And he's been very fast on the big tracks. I think the smaller tracks will give him some problems.
Well, Hornish was victorious. He leads today. He was victorious in his debut with Penske Motorsports at Homestead. He had a 2nd place finish at Nashville. And the 3rd.
Well, he's top 5 finishes, so he's had some pretty good runs.
At Milwaukee, so he's had. But again, that's on the short tracks, except for that first. Race that he won on the 2-mile track.
Yeah, it sounds like they're being told that perhaps Carpenter and Castroneves have had some contact on the racetrack somewhere, so that might be part of the reason for Castroneves falling back. Yeah, he might have bent some suspension pieces with that contact with Eddie Carpenter. So running along with
Carpenter right now is 7 laps off the pace. Matsura is out, Taylor is out. We still have 13 cars on the lead lap. 13th right now is Alex Barron. 12th is Bell. Manning is now in 11th and Dixon 10th. So the target teams aren't doing so well. The target drivers are back in 10th and 11th. this afternoon as you're right along with Dario Franchitti, who's up there in 4th position. And he somewhat lost contact with his teammate Dan Weldon, who is 3rd.
We're past the halfway mark, so lap 128 out of 225. So if you got anything you need to do, pit stops will be coming up here in about another 10 laps.
Well, they made that first pit stop early because of the yellow. Will that make that a 3-stop race?
Boy, it might. It might mean they have to make
the yellow.
Yeah, it depends on the fuel mileage, but if they make
65 laps since their last pit stop.
Yeah. I don't think they can go if they have to stop. If they can stretch this one to about lap 150 or 145, they might be able to make it. But that would be another 15 laps. So I'm not sure they can. Townsend
Bell, who had been on the, I don't know if he was a lap off the pace. He comes in first to make it the second pit stop, second scheduled pit stop.
Right.
Hopefully we'll hear from Matsura now on what happened out there.
My car was, really loose at, turn 2. I had to brake turn 1 as well. And my right front brake was, temperature too high. And, just, brake was fired.
A very tough place to drive with no brakes, Scott Goodyear.
Yeah, this is not the racetrack, Larry, that you want to be out there motoring around without brakes.
Absolutely not. You cannot race. I mean, on a mile and a half, these big mile-and-a-half bank tracks, you can run with no bad brakes. But on a short track like this, you've got to have brakes because there's so much traffic. If you don't have brakes, you're definitely going to crash. You're going to run into somebody at some point.
We hope to show you a replay of that contact between number 3 and number 52. That would be Eddie Carpenter in 52 and Castro Nevitz in number 3. Here it is. And right there is the contact.
Now, Carpenter just squeezes him down. You can see the tire rubber from the right front and Eddie Carpenter's left rear as there was slight contact. Not sure. It doesn't appear that was a heavy enough contact to cause him any problems, but it was enough contact to slow him up so that a couple cars got around him right there.
Well, Castro Nevitz, who started from the pole position, led the first 101 laps. He was victorious here last year. As you take a look at Buddy Rice, Rice up in the 8th position right now, not having the kind of run he'd like to have.
Mira right in front of him, and of course Castro Nevitz in 6th right in front of Mira. So those 3 cars in visual contact with each other, and I'm sure Rice would like to move up, but the traffic, even though it helped some guys, has certainly hurt Elio Castro Nevitz today, and he's fallen. He's lost 5 spots because of the traffic.
Chevrolet had hoped to do well here today, but the best Chevrolet right now is Alex Barron, who is back in 12th position, the last driver on the lead lap. Townsend Bell has Chevrolet power. He is a lap off in 13th. Schechter is a lap off the pace in 14th. And Lazier is in 15th, and he's 2 laps off the pace.
Well, we'll see. I think you're going to see these guys try to stretch it. They've run 136 laps now. They're going to try to go to between 140 and 145 in case there are no more yellows. Because if there are no more yellows, they would have to run the last 80 laps on 1 tank of fuel. So they're going to try to stretch it. There goes Schechter, and he's run 80 laps since the last pit stop, so he had no choice. He had to head for the pits.
Now, your leaders have gone 74 laps since their last stop. Schechter comes to the attention of John Barnes, Doug Bowles, all the team owners of this organization.
Yeah, they will try to run about 78. They'll try to go to 78, 79 laps before they pit this time, so that they'll be sure they can make it. The last, well, they do. If they do that, then they can make it to the end.
Well, we're hearing now from our pit reporters that the leaders may stretch another 8 to 10 laps.
Well, if they do that, then they'll definitely have enough fuel to go to the end. And that's what they're banking on. That's what they want to do, no doubt.
Right now, the margin has dwindled to about 4/10 of a second. As you look at Kim Green.
And after Eddie Gray.
One time, the margin between first and second was over 4 seconds. Now it's growing back to about 0.8 of a second, but that's all because of traffic.
You lose every time you come up on somebody and you just catch them wrong. You can lose a complete second to the guy behind you. Of course, when he catches that same person, he usually is going to lose some time getting around him. It doesn't always work that way, but it averages out pretty much the same way. Dan Weldon very close to his teammate, right behind Tony Kanaan. And once again, Tony Kanaan having one of those phenomenal races where he's running right near the top and not giving up.
We've run 78 laps now since the last pit stop on board with Dixon. Dixon back in the 10th position, manning his teammate right behind him. That is Mira out in front of Dixon.
Yeah, Mira's lost several spots right here in the last few laps. He must have got caught in some traffic as he was right behind Castro Neves. He's lost both Rice and Herta have gone around him.
Yellow flag, and they almost got Schechter. Is that Carpenter?
That is Carpenter, and Schechter almost got into him. This is a big break. Everybody's going to get to come in on the yellow. So Eddie Carpenter, who's had a pretty bad weekend, it hasn't gotten any better.
Had a crash in practice yesterday, did not qualify. There is his team owner, Eddie Cheever.
Yeah, Eddie Cheever looking up at the monitor to see if he can tell what's happened, but obviously he's talking to Eddie right now, trying to find out exactly what's going on. Tough break for Eddie Carpenter.
So the second yellow of the afternoon here on lap 144, and his second crash of the weekend for Carpenter. He indicates to the teammates that he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
Thumbs up.
That's good news that he's okay. The car can be fixed. So
in this country, that's a good gesture. Elsewhere in the world where you're listening, that may not be a good gesture, but in America, that's okay.
Yeah. You can see there he is. I'm sure he's not a very happy man right now. But, you know, like we said, was not a good weekend for Eddie Carpenter. Let's see if we can get a replay of exactly what happened to him. Coming off of turn 2, just got up in the marbles and pushed right into the fence. All by himself. No contact with anybody else. Looked like he got up high to let some of the lap cars go around him, and he just couldn't bring it back down. The front end just took off on him. Look at Schechter, hard on the brakes. You can see he was almost sliding the wheels there, and you can see a lot of debris. Whew.
I guess right across the nose of Scott Dixon. Eddie Carpenter, who lives in Indianapolis, is a graduate of Butler University with a degree in marketing. Got a practice crash yesterday before qualifying. This was what happened yesterday.
Wow, it's appears to be on the same place in the racetrack. This first time he backed it into the fence, this time he drove it into the fence. So, you know, one time one end crashed, the other time the other end crashed. Tough break.
So we're working on lap 146 right now under yellow. This is a 225 lap event. The pits are open. They've gone 82 laps since their last stop, so this would ensure that they could go the distance on this particular stop.
Yeah, we'll see everybody heading in, and this is going to be critical. If you mess up this time, it could put you in a world of hurt. So everybody's going to have to take on a full fuel load. Everybody's been out there for 80-some laps, so there's going to be no short pitting this time unless you want to take the chance that there'll be another yellow. Otherwise, you're going to have to take on a full load of fuel, and it takes about 9 seconds to put 35 gallons of fuel in these things. Oh, they did make a wing adjustment that time. And there is another.
Again, fuel spilling, another mess up. Is there a fire down there?
Yeah, there's a fire down there. They're putting water on him.
See, the water works as well as the fire extinguisher on the methanol, because that will neutralize the methanol. But apparently there could be a fire up inside his helmet.
Yeah, it looks like he's.
Well, apparently he's out now. He's okay.
Everybody's okay, but you can see them putting water mixing with the fuel that was spilled out. As once again,
there's more fire right there. You cannot see the flames in a methanol fire. You cannot see the flames. You see the heat waves, but you cannot see the flames.
Yeah. Wow. Again, that's the 6th pit incident we've had in the last 3 races.
This could make for a longer yellow just to clean up the pits.
There's going to be some real.
There could be a fine here on this as well.
Yeah.
There's a fire on the car. Do I see flames on that side?
He's going to head back for the.
Or what is?
Yes.
Oh no! Is that?
Oh, there's something on there. It's.
It is fire.
Yeah, it appears.
Fire, or is that? That's something that's yellow on there.
I think it might. I don't know. Can't tell, but there's definitely a problem. That's fire. That is a flame coming out of the.
Yeah, that's fire.
Yeah, that's fire. It's burning. He's going to have to go back in the pit area. So this is going to cost him any chance of winning. The pit mistake is going to cost him any chance of winning this race. As the fuel they spilled fuel. It got down inside that pod and caught on fire. He's just going to stop and get out of the thing. Or he's going to stop and let them pour water on it, trying to put it out.
He has water all over his shield. That's why he didn't stop in his pits. He couldn't stop in his pits. It was all waterlogged.
Yeah, so, well, we'll see what happened. But there was fuel. When he pulled away, there was fuel that got spilled down inside that pod, and it caught on fire.
Well, here's the replay. Now, let's see if he signaled out. There's no one up there to signal. No, he was not signaled.
It's definitely Sam Hornish's screw up. They had not told him to go.
The guy in the right front had moved away.
Yeah, the guy in the right front had gone to put the tire up, and they had not signaled him to go.
And Roger Penske was also there grabbing for a bucket of water.
Over the winter, there's going to be a lot of talk about what has happened here.
I'm not sure they're going to wait for the winter to talk about it.
Well, you know, I'm not sure.
He was not signaled. There was no signal guy there. Normally, the right front will make the signal.
Yeah,
he's on fire. And he's saying, come on, throw some stuff on me.
Roger Penske tried to throw water on him, but he's got no fire suit on, so he didn't want to get too close, get on fire himself. But he was the first guy there who threw the first bucket over there. And I think he felt the flames and let the bucket go as he's trying to pour it on the crew member.
He's trying to get the bucket of water on him.
Right.
He's trying to back away.
Right, he was trying to get the bucket of water on him, but back away at the same time. There's the fuel hose. He pulled the fuel hose in too. Probably did not get a full load of fuel either. So, you know, that is a mistake. Dan
Weldon becomes the third leader of the afternoon.
As well, Hornish was having all that problem. Weldon had a great pit stop and beat Kanaan out of the pit area.
Weldon has won twice this season. We'll take a look at the pit out, the line there at pit out. Yeah, Larry, here's a look at and there is Weldon. And there's the gap that he beat his teammate, and that could be the difference between first and second in this race.
Very well could be the difference between winning and finishing second, no doubt about it. Pit stops are so important because this racetrack is so hard to pass on. Franchitti came out at third, Fernandez in fourth, Castroneves was in fifth. So everybody else came out pretty much the way they went in, but Weldon gained a spot.
Weldon has finished third the last three races. He's won twice this season. So it's Weldon, Kanaan, and Franchitti, the three teammates. 1, 2, 3 for the restart. Then Fernandez, then Castroneves, then Rice has moved to sixth. So he's moved up a couple of positions because of the pit stop. Herta is seventh. Mira is eighth. Then Manning, Barron, Dixon. Hornish is being shown on the lead lap back in 12th position. And then Bell, 13th, the last driver on the lead lap during lap 151. Have to go to the back of the pack, so they're going around the pace car. And there's a look at Roger Penske, who was the first to dump some water on his crew member and then back away. Here's what happened.
You can see right here, I still don't know why he took off. There was nobody in front of the car. Maybe he thought at that point, look at that, there was Roger. You can see Roger. He was the first guy that threw the water, and then one of the other guys who did not have a fire suit on also threw some water on him. Most of the crew members, in all honesty, were out there, didn't have access to the water. That's a very dangerous situation. Now, Hornish is already in last on the, oh, this is another replay. Right there, watch Roger. He's the first guy over there. He jumps off of the thing, throws the water out there.
He threw the bucket, too.
Yeah, he threw the bucket out. Well, what happened? When he reached over there, he could feel the flames, and it burned him, and he pulled his hands back and let the bucket and everything go. He jumped off of the stand up there, down onto the ground.
And there's Roger live now, talking to Hornish. So on this restart, we remain under yellow, 155 of 225 under yellow, and there's your top 5 for this restart coming up momentarily here at Nazareth. Well, I tell you, so often, Larry, we talk about races being won or lost in the pit area. You see the work continuing down there right now to sweep it up. There was a situation right there that Hornish looked like he may have been the guy to beat in this race until that pit stop.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, it's just it's not going to happen now. I don't think. There's no way he's going to be able to pass that many cars, and it looks like nobody's going to have to make another pit stop. They pitted on lap 146, so that would make them running 84 laps. And
it's going to be close.
Yeah, so it'll be close, but under yellow they get between about 7 miles to the gallon, 7 or 8 miles to the gallon. Under green flag conditions, these cars get about 2.5 miles per gallon, 2.6. So you know, the yellow flag laps, they're going to get more than twice the fuel mileage they get under the green. So they should be okay to go the distance, as long as they put in 35 gallons of fuel.
We didn't see anybody on a time stop.
No.
Of course, our focus at that point was on the Sam Hornish stop. So they still circulate behind the pace vehicle. Weldon out in front on lap 158 now. There is Kanan, and there is Franchitti back there in third. Then it's Fernandez, Castroneves, and Rice, the restart order. Live coverage under yellow here from Nazareth. Of course, we're off next week. That is Labor Day weekend here in America, but some of these drivers will actually be in action. There's going to be a closed test at Homestead, or at Homestead in Florida, of the road course setup. So we'll have at least 3 road course circuits on the season next year, and perhaps a 4th. So they'll test, and the drivers will test next weekend at Homestead.
Just been announced that St. Petersburg, Florida will have a race next spring, the first road race ever for the IRL on a street course.
Let's look at Adrian Fernandez. He'll restart in 4th position. Starting in 6th. He's already won a race a couple of weeks ago at Kentucky. There's a look at Castroneves, who won this race a year ago, started this race from the pole position, led the first 101 laps. And there is Rice. What is this coming off the back of that car?
I don't know.
Like a spray.
Yeah, it certainly is. Some sort of a spray off of that thing.
Well, that's not normal.
Yeah. Wow. Looks like smoke coming out of that thing off the left rear for some reason.
Well, he'll real start in 6th position. Let's see if we can catch it again here.
First I thought it was just air vapor, but it didn't appear to be air vapor the last time we saw it.
Well, let's see what he does in the restart, because they will restart this next time by. He'll restart in 6th position. 3 Andretti Green teammates right up there in front, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Well, if they run into each other, they may not be as good of buddies as they were have been all year long. So we'll see. They won't want to do that.
Weldon, the youngster on the team, will lead the parade off the corner and restart here on lap 160.
Looks like all of them got a good, clean start this time around.
Car number 6, that is the Hornish car, has been black flagged. He'll have a drive-through penalty for that altercation there in the pit area.
Yeah, they're gonna set the marks now. They're not gonna let guys get by with that sort of thing. So they're going to penalize him right here and right now for that mistake that he made in the pit area. And I wouldn't be surprised they don't penalize him.
I think there might be a fine along the way too.
Yeah, they've warned these guys. They've warned them 3 races in a row, and they're still making these mistakes. So I think you're right. I think there'll probably be some fines. And you know, they've already, like you said, Franchitti has to miss 1 practice for the altercation yesterday. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to get worse if they don't if they keep having these. So, look at this.
There's Hornish on the drive-through. He peels off and is back into action.
This is going to cost him a lap and put him virtually out of any kind of contention to win this race.
Weldon has won this season by not being the fleetest, the fastest, but some great pit work by that team has put him up in front.
And again, you know, it's a matter of not making mistakes. Tony Kanaan and Dan Weldon have been two guys who just do not make mistakes, and it shows in their finishing positions. Frankini's another one. He's made very few mistakes.
Look at Rice, right on the heels of Castroneves. He's up in 6th position.
Well, he's trying. He's doing what he can do. But
yellow flag, the 3rd of the afternoon, and the yellow came out, and he stuck his nose under there. But
well, he didn't see the yellow. He was concentrating so much on getting around Castroneves, he stuck his nose in there, and Fernandez was out of the throttle. I thought they were both going to get into Fernandez.
On lap 166 for Debris. So he thought he had a shot at him, had his nose under him.
You can see right there, Castroneves saw the yellow. He did not. He got his nose down under there. They both are gaining on Fernandez very quickly and had to get on the brakes to miss him.
So our 3rd yellow of the afternoon. The first
we're going to be back under green, I feel. Let's go back to the track and hear from our commentators live.
Gentleman behind him now.
Oh man, he got on the brakes. I'm not sure whether they might try to do that over again, but Fernandez really jumped the start, and I think because he probably lost a few spots there, they'll probably let it go. He cost himself a lot of spots.
Yeah, he started to go by and then realized and slowed up, and they let the restart go.
I think they let it go because he lost spots. He was in 4th. He's back in 7th. And so he just got a huge run on those guys. Thought they were going to get on the throttles earlier. And when he did that, he had to get out of the throttle. When he got out of the throttle, because if he had crossed the finish line in front of Franchitti, they would have definitely penalized him. But he got on the brakes, and when he did, 2 cars got by him.
Maybe he's talking to himself right now.
You know, he tried to get a runner on him. He guessed wrong, and it cost him. Rice got around Castroneves and all that, too. He's up to 4th.
Here's a replay of that start. So he's around.
He's on the brakes right there.
He's around Franchitti, then got on the brakes and lost several positions.
Wow, he lost a lot of positions. Mira lost there too. But Rice was the big benefactor as he got around Castroneves. He moved up 2 spots.
Much of this race, Buddy Rice has been back in 8th, 9th, 10th position. Right now, he's up to 4th. And not far behind Franchitti in 3rd. Kanaan is 2nd.
Well, once again, though, as long as Kanaan keeps running and finishing,
it's his championship.
Yeah, Buddy Rice just can't. There's nothing he's going to do. All he can do is try to do the best he can here and hope that Kanaan has trouble somewhere.
We're being told now that Adrian's spotter did not tell him that they were going green.
Yeah, I don't know. That's maybe that can be their story, and he's sticking to it. But
you don't buy it.
I don't buy it. I think he tried to get a runner on him, and he just gets wrong. He got going way too fast, way too early. If that was the case, he wouldn't be passing cars going through that corner. He wouldn't be going near that fast. I don't think.
Sometimes that will work, though. You lay back a little bit, get on the throttle early, and get a shot on somebody, and it does work.
And at this race,
all kinds of racing.
At this racetrack in particular, it could be a huge advantage if you did get around a car or two. But in this case, he guessed wrong, and he lost a couple spots.
Weldon going for his 3rd win of the year. He was victorious at Twin Ring Motegi. He was also victorious at Richmond. As we said, he's finished 3rd the last 3 outings.
There is Buddy Rice running behind Franchitti, trying to improve his position. Every point he can get is vital to him at this point, especially with Kanaan running in front of him. But everybody, it's so difficult when you're running without lap traffic to make any kind of a move, although Buddy Rice does get a little bit of a run down that back straightaway into turn 3, but wasn't close enough.
Well, Buddy came into this event 68 points behind the leader, Kanaan, and he stands to lose some more ground today. Right now, the bonus points for leading the most laps would be Castroneves because he led 101.
He's going to lose another 4 or 5 points here in this race if they finish the way they do. You get exactly the point between difference between second, third, and fourth. I know it's 2 points down there somewhere. It's 3 points and it drops off to 2, so he could lose 5 points.
Well, we've just completed lap 180, so 45 laps to go.
Well, we ride along with Franchitti. We can see that Rice, looks like Rice gains on him right through this portion of the racetrack, through turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Looks like he gets a little bit of a run on him. And through turns 3. And now, right in this portion of the racetrack, through turn 1 in particular, looks like he loses some ground.
Well, right now, Weldon has built up a 1.7 second lead. We're watching this battle. Oh, contact on the track. Scott Sharp and Townsend Bell. We had just gone on board with Townsend Bell with the contact in the 4th yellow of the afternoon.
Wow. Yeah, we just caught that just switched to have a look from inside his car when the right front of Townsend Bell made contact with the left rear of Scott Sharp. Both of those guys, Scott Sharp 3 laps down. Townsend Bell was on the end of the lead lap and trying to get around Scott Sharp, and the contact was made. Both of them ended up making contact with the right side of the car into the fence.
Both drivers still in the cockpit.
There looked like a motion there that everything
now you're
was
on board
okay.
with Scott Sharp. That's that lipstick camera inside the helmet. And he's tossing stuff out, so you know he's not too pleased. Here's a driver that for 7 straight seasons won at least 1 race. But there's a lot of question about his future. A 2-time Trans Am champion, lives in Indianapolis, but has not had any success whatsoever.
That's Dr. Bach there in the red suit asking him, is he okay?
We're going to hear from Roger Penske here momentarily as they...
Fine. Yeah, we were lucky. Just one of those things. Everybody's pretty anxious to get away, and fortunately, we had a little bit of a fire here. They gave us a drive-through, and we're back running again. But disappointing.
An auspicious day for you. Talk about Elio Castroneves and Sam, how they're running right now with the laps that we have left.
Well, I think right now, you know, we're okay. We ran 21.5, pretty good lap here just a little bit ago. We got a lot of work to do to get to the front, and both cars do. But we still got plenty of laps to go.
Wish you luck. Be safe.
Thanks.
So everybody okay after that frightening situation in the Penske pit.
And very good to learn that everybody is okay.
Well, the pits are open. Dr. Bach is the white-haired gentleman climbing back in the driver's side. Let's take a look again. It looked like Scott. Well, it looked like Scott may have gotten sideways before.
Well, no, I think the contact put him sideways. Yeah, the contact put him sideways. Bell was trying to get in under him. He thought he had enough room. They made contact.
We'll watch it here. This will be a good shot.
So he came down. Bell was. He probably didn't know Townsend Bell was down there, but the contact was made. Then he got sideways and into the wall. But Townsend Bell had a run on him. Just thought he'd have enough room, and you know, Scott probably just didn't see him down there.
That's the responsibility of the spotter to tell him somebody's down there.
The spotter should have told him. And as he came down, look, he's upset. He's mad at Townsend Bell. He thinks he stuck his nose in there where he shouldn't have been. I'm sure Townsend Bell's thinking, you know, you're a lap down. You should have got the heck out of the way. So one of those disputes that, depending on which side of the equation you're on, who you think is right there.
Well, the video would show who's making the move down or up.
Well, yeah, and as a general rule, without the radios, a lot of times you'll say, well, the driver has to be able to see you. But with the radios anymore, it's become more and more a common practice that if you get in there, the spotter tells you low, 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 and you give him room. But he didn't know it off that bottom a little bit. So that's the reason they used to call it a 5-cornered racetrack.
Lap 193 being contested now under yellow. There's the average points per race so far this season, with Tony Kanaan picking up 38.6, Buddy Rice 32.9, and Dan Weldon at 31.8. As you see, the pace vehicle pulls off. Field over to Dan Weldon. We'll get the green flag the next time by.
Got 1 to go here, and everybody's going to be pretty anxious on this restart. They realize only a little over 30 laps to go, 32 laps to go, that you know, this might be their last chance to gain a spot Dan Weldon is not. He knows that it's up to him not to make a mistake.
Keeps him slow down the backstretch. Nobody's going to try to take a run on him. Now he picks up the throttle and off the corner, and the green flag is out. We're racing again on lap 195, so 30 laps to go.
If he'd picked up the throttle there last time, Fernandez might have got away with this little stunt, because he picked up the throttle a lot earlier on this restart than he did on the last restart. Oh, look at this. Franchitti knows he didn't get a very good run. He went to the inside. He kind of blocked, but he didn't do, I mean, he didn't move down the racetrack. He just stayed down there because he knew he didn't get through turn 2 very well.
Buddy Rice all over the rear of Franchitti. That's the battle for third. And Rice needs all the points he can pick up, because the guy in the lead of the point standings right now is riding in second position.
Yeah, I think if he didn't get around him on that restart, it's going to be pretty difficult, because Franchitti did not get through turn 2 very well, and he knew he didn't. That's the reason he stayed low on the racetrack, to make Rice go to the outside, and Rice couldn't get by him on the outside, so that was probably going to be his best shot.
Ornish still back there in 11th position. He's actually gotten around Barron for one additional spot.
Rice got a good run. He gets a good run off of turn number 2 and down that back straightaway.
Well, on this track, catching and passing are two different things.
Two completely different animals. Let's see now. He gets another good run off of turn number 2.
There's the gap between first and second. There's third, and there's fourth.
All of them very close, but none of them
close enough to make a pass.
Yeah, they're just not. It's very, very difficult to make a pass. They're going to probably wait till they get back into lap traffic. Now the guys who are really, really slow out there causing all the problems are not out there anymore. Takagi is the only car that's still on the racetrack that was that's really, really slow.
Well, Giafone has caused some problems. He's still out there. He's 2 laps off the pace.
You're exactly right, because he's fast enough that it's not easy to get around him. He's one of the faster cars that's been lapped, and so he does cause.
You can be fast and being in the way, and you can be slow and be in the way.
Exactly. And Giafone has been pretty quick in not getting out of the way. Remember, they kind of warned him a little earlier.
Well, Schechter's 2 laps off the pace with his Chevrolet-powered entry back in 13th. Lazier is 14th, 2 laps back. 15th is Foyt, 2 laps off the pace. Then Giafone is 2 laps back. He is in 16th.
Rice got a little bit of a run there again, but could not get around Franchitti when Franchitti had to shift gears. I thought maybe he did not get through that corner well enough, and Rice might have a chance. But once Franchitti caught that other gear, he just took off.
24 laps to go, and that man right there has his team drivers running 1, 2, and 3.
He was watching our television shot. You could tell as soon as they turned it on him, he looked away. Riding with Tony Kanaan.
Look at that lead, 1.3 seconds. You're riding with second place. You can see the leader up in front. There's Adrian Fernandez, who really hurt himself on that restart after that third yellow back on lap 171.
Went from 4th to 7th, and he's never gained anything back. He's ridden in 7th ever since. Castroneves, who has dominated the first part of this race, once he had those 2 or 3 bad laps and fell back into 5th, has never been able to recover from that either.
So Weldon enjoying a 1.5 second lead now over his teammate Tony Kanaan. Kanaan with a slight lead over Franchitti, and Rice is right behind him. Then it's Castroneves back in 5th. And Castroneves likely will not repeat here, as he won this race a year ago.
Now it appears that barring any kind of major mistakes or mechanical failures, even though there's still 20 laps to go, Dan Weldon is pretty much in control of this event. Once he's gotten into the lead, he's pulled away from Tony Kanaan much easier than I thought he would, because he really ran most of the race back around 34th spot.
This would be the 8th win for Andretti Green out of 13 races. Not a bad batting average in motorsports.
Unbelievable, really. Unbelievable. You can see that Buddy Rice, following Franchitti, still would very much like to make a move and move up another spot, but just hasn't found a way to do it. He's tried going in that turn 3 a little high, and he's tried several different things. He lays back, tries to get a big run through turn number 2, and he does get a run, but he just doesn't get a big enough run to make the pass.
And with the open racetrack, Weldon opening up about 0.2 of a second per lap over Kanaan. As you see second, third, and fourth right together on the racetrack. You look back at the number 15 right now of Rice. You're riding along with Franchitti back in third position.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Buddy Rice is hoping they run into some heavy traffic here sometime in the next 15 or 18 laps so that he has a chance to make a move on Franchitti.
They'll have to go 79 laps on this tank of fuel, which should not be a problem because of that last yellow they had.
No, there won't be a problem. They've got plenty of fuel. Nobody's worried about that at this point. It's just a matter of running around there and not getting into any trouble.
The lead now has stabilized at just under 2 seconds between Weldon and Kanaan.
Dan Weldon is a pretty clever guy. He knows exactly what he's got to do. And he probably, you know, slowed down this slightly so that he doesn't want to catch traffic maybe as quick. As long as he's got a 2-second lead, all he's got to do is ride there and hopefully not catch those back markers so he doesn't have to make any more drastic moves in traffic.
Kanaan's worst finish of the season was the opening race of the year at Homestead, where he started 8th and finished 8th. I mentioned his 3 victories. The last 3 races he's finished 5th, 5th, and 2nd. And that's the way you win championships. You win a couple of races, then you're consistently in the top 3 or 4 the rest of the year.
He's been very, very good. There's no question about it. He's been up front most of the time. Whenever your worst finish is 8th, I think anybody on the racetrack will take a season like that.
Well, coming into this afternoon's race, he had completed all 2,480 laps. Castro-Nevitz had completed all but 6 of the laps this season, but it's phenomenal to complete every lap of competition.
13 laps to go as Dan Weldon maintains that nice lead over.
Well, the nice lead has gotten to be a little nicer because now it's almost 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, and remember, there's no traffic, so he's just flat out running them. He's running about 1 mile an hour faster than Kanaan is right now. And Rice is running some laps quite a bit quicker than Franchitti. He just can't, once he catches him, he can't find a way to get around him.
As the laps wind down here at Nazareth, the final race for this racetrack in eastern Pennsylvania, we can tell you that in 2 weeks we'll be at Chicagoland Speedway, then California on October 3rd, and Texas Motor Speedway to wrap up the field and the season on October 17th. And they're saying now there's Castro-Nevitz back in 5th, Manning is 6th. The championship banquet this year is going to be a cruise, a 3-day cruise.
Not a bad banquet.
I'll be looking for my invitation in the mail on that one.
And here we ride along with Darren Manning as he's hoping to be able to do something with Helio Castro-Nevitz, although that might be pretty tough, tall order at this point.
We could go steerage on that cruise, you think?
Yeah, heck yes.
We'd have to work during the cruise.
Well, there will be.
Good idea. As Franchitti looking back at Rice as the laps wind down. 8 laps to go.
Looks like Weldon is going to run into a little bit of traffic. I'm not sure how much, but the last time we saw him. Oh, look at this, Buddy Rice. No, still not close enough. Wants badly to get that spot. He just can't. I don't know whether they're going to run into traffic in time to help him out or not. Doesn't look like it.
7 laps to go. Lead now has dwindled back to 1.7 seconds.
That's because Weldon's gotten into the traffic, and at least one car in front of him. That's Giaffoni up there.
That's in front of Kanaan. So it's 1 lap car between 1st and 2nd. They'll lead back to almost 2 seconds. So Kanaan has to get around Giaffoni, who has been most difficult throughout the day to put a lap down. He's already 2 laps off the pace.
Weldon did get around him in pretty good fashion. We didn't see the pass. But,
actually, Giaffoni now is 3 laps off the pace.
Yeah.
There's Castro-Nevitz back in 5th position after starting from the pole position and leading the first 101 circuits. Running along with Manning now, back in 6th. And that's Elio up in front of him. Lap 25 laps to go.
And Gaines going into turn number 3. Maintains his speed through here. It looks like Castroneves gains on him through that second corner just slightly. A little bit better run through 1 and 2 for Castroneves, and then Manning gathers him up down turn.
There's no traffic out in front of Dan Weldon right now. He has clean racetrack, clean asphalt out in front of him, and the lead now is 2.7 seconds. So. Yep. With 3 laps to go, he could almost coast to victory now.
Yeah, he's, you know, barring some major catastrophe in the mechanical department, it doesn't appear that this is going to be very difficult for Dan Weldon from this point on.
Got the lead on a pit stop.
Paid off big time.
Since lap 147.
Yeah, I think he can give his crew a pat on the back. They probably won this race for him by getting him out ahead of Kanaan on that last pit stop.
It's the second time this season at Richmond he was not all that competitive, but he won it, got the lead on a pit stop, and then won the race as the white flag is displayed. 1 lap to go. The final lap of competition at this racetrack as Nazareth will close at the conclusion of this event this afternoon. And Danny Weldon is about to pick up his 3rd victory of the year to match that win column of Rice and his teammate Kanaan. So Weldon picks up the win here. Kanaan goes 2nd, Franchitti 3rd, Rice will take 4th, then Castroneves, Manning, Fernandez, who really hurt himself on that restart, back in 7th, and there's Michael.
Yep, you can tell they're pretty happy down in